Hi, Walter here. I'm a senior engineer with FairCom, and you might be like me, where you get your Raspberry Pi out, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do some awesome stuff here, and you hook up some sensors to the GPIO, maybe a Bosch BME 680, maybe a DS18B20, you know, who knows? And then you get you get your awesome code running in there, and it's spitting out MQTT. And that's great, but then you get interrupted. So then you come back to it and you're thinking now, what topic did I use? I don't remember. What JSON properties did I use inside the topic? I can't remember. So what I like to do is I like to use the MQTT Explorer inside of FairCom Edge, and it just helps you figure all that out. It shows you the live data. You can, well, anyway, you'll see it all in the video.
Hi, Walter here from FairCom. Today I wanted to show you how easy it is to look at and deal with your existing MQTT data using our MQTT Explorer web utility. So here in my office, I have a Raspberry Pi that's hooked up to my two favorite sensors, the Bosch BME 280 and the Dallas DS18B20. So I've got it set up to read each one of those sensors, both of them, every 10 seconds, and then send the data out in a JSON format over MQTT. So this is great, but I did this a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't really gotten back to it, but I don't remember exactly what topics I used or which one is which. So let's dig into that and see how easy it is to figure all this stuff out and then do something fun with the data. Okay, so we have several web utilities that ship with FairCom Edge server, one of which is MQTT Explorer. So let's launch that. It has to load. We'll connect it to our server. Now, let's look at the dashboard, which will show us all the active topics. And I see there's 3 active topics. I'm going to guess that maybe one of the sensors I'm looking for is sensor 1. So let's look at what's coming in over sensor 1. Yeah, see the data is, the messages are growing on that. Okay, so let's go to the subscribe tab. I could type sensor 1 here, but if it's a known active topic, I can just pick it. We will subscribe to it. Now let's look at the monitor tab, and there it is. All right, so obviously this is my BME 280 sensor. So it's got all the different pieces of information. It's got temperature in C, temperature in F, the humidity, the barometric pressure, heat index, dew point, everything, because I've got it set to give me all the extra info. Now, this gives me the ability to look in here and see what the actual JSON properties are associated with the different pieces of info. But since I'm in the US, I'll probably be using temperature underscore F more than Celsius. Okay, so now that we know where that is, and that is on sensor 1. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard. What was the other one? Sensor 2, I'll bet, is the other one I'm looking for. Okay, so let's go look at that one. Let's get rid of sensor 1. Let's subscribe to sensor 2. Now let's go see what that looks like. Let's get rid of all these old ones. There it is. That took long enough. Okay, yeah, see, this one's obviously the Dallas one-wire sensor because it's only a temperature. Now, normally the Dallas one-wire has, if you love the sensor like I do, you'll know it always reports in Celsius, but I added some code to convert it to Fahrenheit when I was putting it in JSON format. All right, so this one's a much simpler one. It only has one property of temperature. Okay, so now this is all great, and I've got live readings coming in from these 2 sensors, but what would be really nice is if I had all this automatically being dumped into a database where all this info is getting captured with a timestamp so that I could then do queries and interesting fun stuff with it. Well, that's actually not hard to do with FairCom Edge. So we have something called a persistence topic. And it is just, so there's a specific topic that we listen for control commands on. And then you can type up a simple piece of JSON that instructs us how, what to look for and what kind of a database table to put it into. And it's not that much, it's very low code, but I don't remember all the specifics and the exact formatting. So I'm going to take the even easier road, and I'm going to have it build it for me. So this would list any existing topics that I have that are persistence topics where I have the server looking on a topic to store data in a database. There aren't any right now, but let's add a new one. So let's call it sensor2. Let's put it in a table called sensor2. That's easy enough. So this is the topic it's going to watch for data coming in on, and then this is the database table it's going to put the data in. Now we want to tell it what kinds of data to look for. So let's add one here. Now the property path, as we saw before, is just temperature. And we're going to have it put it into a field name. Let's be super creative and call it temperature. Now it can't be a varchar. That's not helpful. Let's make it a real. Okay. Now, if we're going to do sensor2, there was only that one, but I could add more here. I could add, let's say we were doing the Bosch sensor, which has all sorts of different items. I could add each one of those here, and with a different, well, I guess they're all numeric in this case, but I could have different types of data, and so every time a message comes in, it looks for each one of these property paths. Then it unloads the info from that, the data associated with that, puts it into a field as we instructed with the right type. Now there's a whole bunch of other settings. There's a lot of nitpicky settings so we can get it exactly how we want, but really we don't really care about all that. It's a simple scenario. So we're going to make sure that the auto timestamp is on and that the indexing is on for that. And really, we don't need to worry about the rest of this. So let's just close this out. Now, before I send this, I just wanted to show you, it gives you the JSON right here that it built based on what you told it to do. And it's not very complicated. You can see that you're telling it you want to create a persistence topic, you're giving it the topic, you're giving it the table name, and then you're giving it an array of properties to look for, then what field name to store that in, and the data type. So this is what I could send in the publish to that special topic that I told you about. But we're going to just let it do it itself. Okay. Now, every 10 seconds, when my Dallas sensor gets read and then we send the data over MQTT, the server will recognize that. It will then unload the data value, the temperature in Fahrenheit, and then store it into a table. So now, and at that point, then I have access to it through lots of different ways. I can use standard ANSI SQL and do simple or complex queries over SQL. I can also use a NoSQL approach. And this is all over the same data set. We're not like magically moving the data from one bucket to another underneath so that it can be accessed through all these different methods. No, it's a single data set that is accessible through SQL, NoSQL, nav, lots of different ways. So for instance, I could have a simple nav API so I could write a simple Python program that says, I want to process records showing the temperatures from today, starting at about noon, and then I just want to process all the data. So it'd be very easy for me to tell it to start with the timestamp of this time and get the first record, then next, and I could process all the data that way. So now just kind of as icing on the cake, let's switch back. Let's switch back to the list of web utilities. Let's switch to SQL Explorer. And let's go look at this data that we've started persisting. Connect to the server. Now, if we look in here, see, there's our sensor2 table that we asked it to make. And it says it has two fields, a real and a timestamp. Let's peek into their data. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so now let's do a simple SQL query running on this live data. So let's say select star from sensor 2 where temperature is greater than 70.5. And there you have it. It's that easy. Wasn't that fun? All right. Thanks for watching.